Hey everybody, great to see all of you joining us. And some of you are joining us live, and some of you are watching this on replay. Nonetheless, it's good to see all of you. Welcome to the Grants and Government Contracting Podcast.
Yes, welcome everybody. If you're coming on, joining us, or even watching back, make sure to put your name, where you're joining us from, and your organization or your business. We're so excited to have you today, and we're going to be learning some really cool and valuable things today.
Well, before we talk about cool and stuff, you're doing something cool this week, right? Where are you joining us from, Lainey?
Yes, so I am today on the beautiful Emerald Coast of Destin. I know I was asking Abe, so if you hear something, it sounds like somebody beating on my window. We're having some insane weather here. So we had a storm come in tonight and last night we had a storm come in and the weather is just the wind's blowing, it can like blow you away. We actually had somebody else's goodies on our porch this morning. So we're going to have to go find after this who those belong to because they blew from somewhere. We don't know where. So, yes, I'm excited to be here and joining in. That's the beauty of virtual, is that we don't have to be in the same place. We can be from wherever, joining in from, anywhere around the world, and we're still able to connect and, spend this hour together.
Well, hey, I will take a windy day in Destin, Florida over any other day in Atlanta, Georgia. Especially, I think somebody joined us from Canada. So, absolutely.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I had to, even looking at the weather, I was like, we're going down no matter what. Some good food. The views are spectacular with the beautiful water and just even though working, relaxing time and just getting away. It's always needed.
Awesome. Well, for those of you who just joining us, this is the Grants and Government Contracting Podcast. So, welcome to the podcast. We are recording this here, and we're doing it live at the same time. And today we have some really good stuff to share with all of you. We're going to be talking about teaming and partnerships, and a one of the most underrated team. And we're going to talk about that, what that is at the in this podcast today here. And so, just a quick reminder: if you're joining us live, put in your company name, your name, and where you're joining us from, so that we can just have a rough idea of who's here with us. But with that, Lainey, are we ready to dive in?
Yeah, I'm really excited to, talk about this and want to make sure you stay around to the end. As always, we always like to give something away to our listeners. So we have some cool things, and we're going to be talking about this new idea, or it's not an idea. We had an idea. It's put into focus and it came to fruition, but it's a teaming, how we have started partnering different people with future teaming partners, future subcontractors. So you want to stay around for that. And maybe today you'll meet somebody in the chat that is perfect for you to team with as well. So make sure you're putting yourself in the chat, kind of a little bit about what you do. You never know who's looking for somebody. So yeah, let's dive right in. And as always, if you have any questions, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat. So we'll ask questions to either Abe or me if it comes up.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive in. We're going to talk about what is a teaming partnership. And some of you, you're very familiar with teaming or how teaming works. We're going to cover that. But then we're going to talk about the most underlooked type of teaming partnership that you should have, every business in the government market should have. So let's dive in. What is a teaming partnership? And to understand what is teaming, we have to talk about co-opetition. Now, co-opetition is derived from two words actually. It has to do with cooperate and competition. Now, in the private sector, competition is usually a bad word, right? We like, oh no competitors. I don't want to have any competitors. The opposite of that is true in the government market. Whether you're in the nonprofit or the for-profit side in the government market, co-opetition is absolutely necessary in the government market. And so it has to do with cooperating with your competitors. That's how it works in the government market. And so we just call it co-opetition. And here's the reason: 70% of federal projects require two or more companies to perform on them. And practically, here's what that means. That means that you, as a business owner, you do not have a deep bench. Now, there may be some, Fortune 500 companies. They have people that's on the bench waiting for project to start. But for most small businesses, you don't have a deep bench, and so your bench are your teaming partner. Your bench is your subcontractor. Your bench is a prime, another larger company that can come and step in to help you perform on a project. So that's part of the reason is, a lot of projects require multiple companies to succeed and fulfill on those obligations, requirements. And so competition is very necessary. And so, but in terms of understanding what is competition, there's 6 different types of relationships that you need. You as a business, you're in the middle, right? You are the contractor, you're the vendor, you're in the middle, and you have 6 different type of relationships that you need to succeed. So let's talk about the green circles first. So at the very top is the end user. The end user is the agency itself. It could be the program manager, it could be the undersecretary of DoD, it could be the department head. It is the employee that works inside of the agency. They have a problem, they have a need, but the end user, they have a need, but they have very limited contracting authority, meaning they can't just purchase things from you as a business. So they have to go to the contracting office, and the contracting office is made up of many different uh, labor categories. There is a CO, there's a KO. KO, CO is the same thing. And the reason we call the KO and the CO as the same thing is in the military or the DoD. DoD awards about 55 to 60% of all federal contracts on a annual basis. And the word CO stands for commanding officer. So within the DoD, they tend to use the word KO, which means contracting officer. And so in civilian agency, it's synonymous. COKO, it means the same thing. Uh, Partly because DoD CO automatically means commanding officer. So you need to have a relationship with the KO. You need to have a relationship with the PCO, the TCO, the ACO, the contracting specialist, the core, the COTAR, the FPO, GSA, DLA. All these are different parts of the contracting office. They purchase. They have the authority to bind the government into a contractual relationship with your business. So the end user have the need, the contracting office have the authority. They to become a contracting officer, they have to go to DAU, right? Um, I forget what DAU means now. Defense Acquisition University. So they have
Hmm.
to go and learn the FAR Federal Acquisition Regulations. There's over 2,000 pages, and so they have to learn how to purchase from businesses. And so an end user does not need to know how to do that. They just have a problem, but they need to go to the contracting office because they have the authority to purchase because they know the rules and regulations. And then the third relationships you need to have at the government level is relation with small business specialists. Could be the SABU, the OSTRBU, the OSBP, the SBA boss. There are many different roles in terms of every agency through regulation must have a small business specialist that helps small businesses work with the agency itself. Now, if you're a large company, the small business advocates doesn't really apply to you. But for everybody else, small business advocates do apply for you because 98, 99% of businesses as categorized by the SBA are considered small businesses. So so you need these 3 types of relationships in the government sector. You also need 3 additional type of relationships in the private sector. So for small businesses, you need other small businesses as your teaming partner, your subcontractors. You need businesses, small businesses that have certifications that you may not have. You need small businesses that have parallel industry. You need small businesses that have perpendicular industry niche markets that you may not be able to have. So you need these here so that you can fulfill the obligations of the statement of work itself. You also need large companies, right? Large primes, they are your partners. Large companies are required to subcontract 35% to small businesses. So as a small business, you need to work with large companies As a large company, you also need to work with other large companies. Why? Again, because it's just normal that multiple companies work together to fulfill on contracts. And then the third private sector type of relationship you need is your capture team. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about your capture team some more. So your capture team is your proposal writer, your DCA, CPA, your project manager, your program manager, your relationship manager, your research team, your cost estimate. All these different people make up your capture team. So so how do you utilize competition then? So competition has to do with PST, JV, and P. And we're going to dive deeper into what all these mean in a second. P is prime, S is subcontractor, T is teaming partner, JV is a joint venture, and P is a mentor protege. So practically, what does that look like? So the first type is the first type of role you can play in the government market is being the prime yourself, right? As the prime, you are the direct contract holder to the government. So the contract comes to your company as the prime, and you perform on it. Sometimes you may need subcontractors to perform on it. So that's the second type of engagement that you work in the government market. So as a subcontractor, you you're not the direct contract holder to the government. You are a sub to the prime. In a teaming relationship, this is a collaboration of two or more companies coming together to win a contract. So, teaming just means that two or more companies are engaging the government collectively at the beginning. A prime does not need a subcontractor to win a contract. But in a teaming relationship, the, the strength of both or multiple companies are needed to win a contract. In a joint venture is very similar as a teaming, but in a joint venture, there's a formal partnership where you form a new company to bid on a contract. And a mentor protege is where a large and small business work together. Now, there are some mentor protege where it's two small businesses, but that's extremely rare. Mentor protege partnerships are usually one large, one small, or one large and two. Well, actually, it's one small. Yeah, it's usually just one large and one small in a mentor protege relationship. And then you can bring in multiple subcontractors to support, but it's one large, one small working together. And the reason why you need a mentor is because of SBA regulations and potential FAR clauses. And we'll cover that a little bit more. So practically, what does that mean here? So in a prime, the prime can be a large or small business, and the past performance, PP stands for past performance. The past performance of the prime is they don't need anybody else to win the contract because their past performance and their strength or capabilities are strong enough to fulfill the obligations of the RFP, RFQ, and they can win the contract all by themselves. So the prime, they don't need anybody else. They can win the contract by themselves. Now, once they win, they can utilize subcontractors to help fulfill it. But to win, they don't need anybody else. So that's why prime is usually the best approach because you don't need anybody else. You can succeed on your own, but you can use sub later to help fulfill different components of it. In a teaming relationship, you need two or more companies' capabilities to win a contract. So it may be a teaming of one large, one small, or it could be a teaming of two small, or it could be a large and another small. It doesn't matter. It just means two more companies are coming together in a teaming relationship, and you actually have a teaming agreement. The teaming agreement will say this company will act as the prime, this company will act as the sub, and the strength of both companies will help meet the requirement and over I guess the term I'm looking for is that you can surpass the requirements. And so the government looks at teaming partnership, and they love that because they know that especially a large and a small working together on a set aside for a small business, agencies love that because they know they have the strength of the large company to support that effort itself. So very, very important strategy in a teaming partnership. Two more companies work together. Now, in a JV, it could be a joint venture between two small, or a joint venture between a large and a small, or a large and another large company. So joint venture just means that it's a formal relationship where you form a new company, where two more companies come and you form a new company, and the new company act as the prime. So let me say that again. The joint venture is a new company, and that joint venture is the prime, even though it has two companies or three companies working to fulfill the contract obligation itself. So this is very desirable by government agencies, because now in a teaming, only the prime is obligated, because the prime is what's on the award, right? In a joint venture, the joint venture is obligated, and everyone that's part of the joint venture is obligated to fulfill the contract itself. Now, in a mentor protege, when a large and a small business come together, the the large company and the small business must seek to get an approval by the SBA to form a mentor project agreement, and then they form a joint venture, and the joint venture goes out and bid on a contract together. Now, if a large company is bidding on a contract by themselves, you do not need to form a joint venture. But if they're working closely together, then you do need to form a joint venture. And part of the reason is you do not want to be treated as an affiliation. An affiliation means that if a small business and a large company consistently work together, and let's assume the small business get like 60, 70, 80% of the revenue from the large company, that can be treated as affiliation. The reason is, if all of the revenue, most of your revenue comes from the large company, that means you are in essence at the beck and call of the large company. If they stop doing work with you, your business is pretty much out, right? You're out of commission. And so the government can potentially treat that as affiliation, or another company that is bidding on the same project. If you're working with a large company and you don't have a mentor project agreement and a JV in place, another company can protest the award, and you can potentially lose a contract and be treated as affiliation. So as I'm sharing about some of these things here, if you have questions related about any of these items, put in the chat. We'll come back and address it in a little bit here. So, but if you're just joining us, we are talking about teaming, partnerships, and joint ventures. And we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked teaming strategy in a little bit here. So a prime contractor is just the one that has a direct award with the agency. And usually the prime is a large company, although a small business can be a prime contractor as well. So a subcontractor is someone who does work for the prime. So the prime holds a contract, the subcontractor supports the prime. And in this situation here, when you're dealing with a large company, large companies are required to subcontract typically 35% to small businesses. So it's to your advantage to work with large companies because they are, most contracts over $750,000. It's written in the RFP that the large must subcontract work to small businesses. Now, there are some projects where it's 50%. There are some projects where it's 25%. But in general, it's about 35% for most sizable projects. And then the large can have multiple subs on the same project there. So now let's go a little bit deeper into what is teaming. Teaming is a type of partnership that's used for acquisition purposes. And it is where someone is a sub to a prime, or there is a prime working with a sub. So you can be a sub to a prime, or you can be a prime to a sub. It doesn't matter. But the prime is usually on the record as the awardee, and the sub is just adding their capabilities to help win the contract itself. Once you do win a contract, outside of the team agreement, you actually set up a subcontractors agreement to help fulfill the work itself. So the team agreement is used for the winning the contract. Most of the time, you don't submit the teaming agreement in your proposal, but sometimes you do submit it in your proposal to the government. You just need to state that you have a teaming partnership, and the government you will almost understand that you already have a teaming relationship or team agreement in place. And so teaming can be done through a joint venture as well, and it can be done through a mentor protege. So it's a type of partnership. So there's different type of business model, right? In the B to G or business to government, there's different approaches to this here. So I'm going to illustrate with some images here. So most of the time, people want to be a prime to the government, and this is although this is a very strong proposition, is everybody wants to be the prime to the government. This is not the best strategy when you're new in the government market. Option two on the right hand side is better, right? You start off by being a subcontractor to the prime to the government. So this is B to B to G, right? So this is a little bit better strategy here. Now, in some situation, it could actually be B to B to B to G. So the government works with the prime. You might be a tier one sub, and you might have a tier two sub to support you. The prime may have multiple tier one sub, and the tier one sub can have tier two subs as well. And sometimes tier two sub can have tier three subs. So that does happen from time to time. And again, if you're really new in the government market, in some situation, you might be a tier two sub to a tier one to the prime, as long as the money makes sense, right? Because the lower you are in the value ladder here in terms of tier three or tier four, and I've seen some rare situation where there's actually a tier four. Um, but usually, tier three is about as deep as you go, because the margins get smaller and smaller. So
Hey,
when you knew tier one, tier two is really how you get started, because as a tier one or tier two sub, guess what? You do not need to know how to write proposals. All you need to do is give your pricing to the prime. You do not need to have a relationship with the end user. You do not need to have a relationship with a contracting officer. You do not need to have anything. You just need to know what you're doing, be good at what you do as a specialist, and you can win contracts as a subcontractor, whether tier one or tier two.
Abe, do you think you could explain an example of maybe a project you've seen in the past where it had, the prime, the tier one, tier two, just to explain it a little bit more?
Sure. If I'm going to illustrate a real true story here.
I,
So,
I knew you had a story.
yep. Oops. Let me exit from this here. Uh, all right. So let me come in here. So this is a true story. So this is Marcus. So Marcus came to a class just like this here. And I was teaching, in terms of being a subcontractor, whether you're tier one, tier two, doesn't matter. Part of it is just building your relationship and getting some contract opportunities. So Marcus understood this principle. So he started building a relationship with a potential teaming partner. So the teaming partner says, "Hey, you know what? I don't have anything in cybersecurity. I don't have anything in what you share with me, but I do need somebody that does low voltage wiring." Now, Marcus is in technology, right? He's in cybersecurity.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with low voltage wiring, although low voltage wiring is a component of the technology world. And so when this company said, I do need someone that does low voltage wiring, Marcus, ding, 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 right? The alarm bell went off. And he said, "Oh, by the way, we have a division that does low voltage wiring." So so this company said, "Oh, you do?" Then Mark said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me your requirements, and I can submit a pricing to you." So as it turns out, the Air Force Base in Alabama awarded a multi-year, multi-location contract to Verizon. So Verizon is the prime. This other company was a tier one subcontractor but they needed someone to do some low voltage wiring. And so Marcus actually submitted some. He went and found a tier three low voltage wiring company. They gave him his price. He marked it up. He gave that price to the tier one sub. The tier one sub said, "Okay, I'll bring you on." So Marcus didn't have to write a proposal. All he did was build a relationship with somebody, a potential teaming partner. He didn't even have the capabilities of actually doing low voltage wiring. So, but he connected with someone who had the capabilities. He helped manage the contract and help fulfill it to some degree, added value to the process. And the tier three to his tier two to the tier one to the prime, everybody make money in the process. So true story, that's really how you're part of government contracting. That's sometimes you work with multiple tiers in that way. And in this situation, Verizon is the contract holder, the prime to the government in this Air Force base here. And they're happy, right? As long as the work is done, everybody makes a little bit of money in the process. And so that's how he got his first government contract, is doing it that way.
So my follow-up question with that, and I love that I asked you that because you always have a story for everything. That's why I like asking you to give us an example. But so did Marcus ever have to go to the job site at all? Or
No, he
no?
just managed the contractors from his computer, and
Okay.
from invoicing perspective and some phone calls to make sure that everything's going well. Because the prime's on base, the tier one is on base, and then he just sent them. Now the tier three went in as when they went in, they didn't go in as a tier three. They didn't go in as Marcus's company. They went in as the tier one company.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't go and say, I'm a tier three subcontractor. No. In the eyes of Verizon, in the eyes of the government, that company went in as a tier one, subcontractor. And so, because the tier one sub is known by the government and Verizon is known by the government, but tier two, tier three, they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And so, in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of Verizon, it's just a tier one company that's actually doing the work itself.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's so smart.
But yeah, all these things, this is just really, everyday things that happens in the government market. So you know you do need to understand that you don't have to know everything, right? You just need to know people that knows everything. All right, so let's talk about two types of teaming. If you want to read up on teaming some more, go to FAR 9.601, and it talks about teaming. Teaming is normal in the government market. In fact, I shared earlier, right, that contracting officer expect teaming most of the time. So horizontal teaming is where two or more companies come together and they form a partnership or a joint venture to act as the prime contractor. So that's called a horizontal teaming, where there's just one company and is made up of multiple companies is in that joint venture itself. That's a horizontal teaming. In a vertical teaming is where there is the prime and there's a tier one sub, a tier two sub, and so forth and so forth. So that's a vertical teaming relationship. So let's talk about why team, right? Teaming is recognized by the government, and it enables companies to do a few things, right? They complement each other's unique capabilities. For example, you may be a software development company, but you don't know about cybersecurity. You may not know about cloud computing. You may know high level about cloud computing, but you're not the technical expert. So on some project, like for example, if the government wants somebody to come in and do a cybersecurity risk assessment, and then someone to come in and do system integration between all the systems they have, and then do some software development along the side to make sure everything integrates well, that can require the capabilities of multiple companies. So this is, the government loves the combination of multiple people coming together because they know that it's going to be more likely to succeed. Now, there are some restrictions in teaming. Almost all of the time, teaming is permissible. I would say 99% of the time, teaming is permissible. There is very little restrictions on it, but there are some situations where the government specifically say that we will not allow teaming on this here. Only the prime. Um, Now the prime can use sub, but the prime cannot do teaming partners to qualify for the project. And I've seen that on some bigger size project to where the government says the prime must have all the past performance. So in the traditional team, two past performance can come from the prime and one past performance can come from the sub, and that's normal because the SBA supports that. Agencies normally expect that. But there are some bigger projects where the government specifically will say that all three past performance, all of the resume, all of the key personnel must come from the prime contractor. And so there are some times where that is the case. But outside of that is normal to do all the stuff here. So what is some of the best times with teams, right? Normally when uh, you form a team in the early stages before you submit a proposal. So that is usually the best time to do a teaming relationship. And then also you form a teaming when you need additional past performance or you need additional resume, you need additional capabilities to qualify for the opportunity. So that's when you would form. But most of the time it's past performance. You don't have all of the past performance. Now let's assume they set it aside for a service disabled veteran owned small business project and you're the SDVSB company, but you have zero past performance. It's set aside for SDVSB, you have zero past performance. So in that situation, you would bring in a more capable company and you would submit their past performance as part of the team and you even though it's a set aside for you for SDVSB. So in that situation, the other company, they may not have a SDVSB certification, but by teaming with your company, they can actually bid on a project. If they had gone at it alone, they couldn't bid on it because it was set aside for SDVSB. Or if it was a VA contract, right? Even though it may not be set aside for SDVSB, any project with a VA, it's always better to utilize a SDVSB or VOSB company because the VA has the Vet First program. The Vet First program just means that the VA will make every effort to award a contract to a veteran-owned business before they choose anybody else. In fact, the VA awards about 27, 28% of all of the contracts to veteran-owned businesses. So depending on which agency, you utilize certain teaming partnership to pursue those opportunities. Now, it is less common when a subcontractor participation is seen as a commodity, meaning that commodity is just where there's a dime a dozen and that is needed in that situation. Or if it's like for products, in products, you don't necessarily need a subcontractor. You just need a manufacturer that will supply the products for you as the prime. So in a product driven outside of service, you don't need to have a subcontractor or teaming agreement. You just need to submit the price of the product, and then you use whichever vendor, whichever manufacturers that you have a partnership with. Now the best is this here, right? Best time to use teaming is to get included in a large prime small business program. Every large company must have a small business program. And a small business program, sometime in the private sector, they call it their supply diversity program. In the government market, it's called a small business program. It's required on certain projects, especially over 750,000. Large company must submit a small business plan along with the proposal. And in their small business plan, they will say, we have a teaming agreement with this company, with this WSB, with this SDVSB, with this 8A company, with this hub zone company. And we intend to award 10% to the hub zone company. We intend to award 5% to the women-owned business. That proposal will look stronger in the eyes of the government than a large company that just says, we have a small business program of 100 companies, and should we get awarded the contract, we're going to choose one of them to do work for us, to do some subcontracting work for us. That's a weaker proposal than a large company that says, we have these teaming agreements in place, and this is how much we intend to award, and this is the scope of work that this small business will perform on. So sometimes having a more detailed proposal spelled out who's going to do what is going to be stronger in the eyes of the reviewer than somebody that is not necessarily spelling out, but just generalizing it there. So, other best time to team. Every now and then, it's okay to form a team after the contract is awarded, but that's usually not the best time. And it's usually teaming is usually always tied to services most of the time, goods every now and then, and when it's not necessarily part of the evaluation factor, you can do it after the fact itself. Now, in a JV, you do not need a teaming agreement. It's extremely rare unless the joint venture has a teaming agreement with a third party company. But the two companies that's part of the joint venture, you don't need a teaming agreement because you have a joint venture agreement. The joint venture agreement is similar to a teaming agreement, but it's actually stronger than a teaming agreement. And we have another class where we talk about all the different type of team agreements that you will need to get to have, and that's a whole separate class in terms of the agreements itself. So with that, let's open up. Let's look at some Q&A to see if there's Q&A, and then we're going to look at the most underrated team member that people never really think about. So at this point, let's go ahead and open up for some Q&A. If you do have any questions, put it in the chat. And then we're going to talk about one last thing that people always underlook or never even think about. So Lainey, did you see any questions come in?
I haven't seen any questions yet, but I was just going to say, if you're just joining us, you kind of got the end part of Abe's breakdown. I'm going to put the link in for you to rewatch it, because this is definitely some information that you're going to want to go back and rewatch, but make sure to stick around. You're not too late to the party. So we're going to be showing you what is the most underlooked team. Do you have a community behind you? So make sure. And does anybody have any questions? I know I've seen some really cool comments going on and about teaming, people that are looking for teaming. So that's really exciting. We did just have a question come through, and this is not a planted question, but it is. Valerie just said, what is your recommendation on where to find subcontracting opportunities?
Great question that leads into what we're about to talk about here. So this is one of the most underlooked in terms of team. Remember the 6 types of relationships that we talked about. Your team, your capture team is made up of proposal writers, cost estimators, professionals that may be a lender, maybe a CPA, but within that is considered your community of expert, your community of professionals that support you. And most time people think about teaming, they think about, I need an 8A teaming partner, or I need a large prime. Yes, that's part of your teaming community, but your teaming community goes beyond that. Your teaming community, you need other people to help you to succeed in the government market. So the question is, where can I find some teaming partners? Well, guess what? We just launched what's called the GovCon community. The link, Lainey is putting that in the chat. And in the GovCon community, you can come to Teaming Tuesday and pitch for a teaming partner. So Teaming Tuesday is actually a event. We're going to start the first Teaming Tuesday on April, the first week of April, every Tuesday in April. And it's going to be a live event. You come and you get to pitch about your company, what you do, and the type of teaming partners you're looking for. And you connect to find people, and so that you can collectively go after government contracts together. So, or you can say, I'm looking for a subcontractor, or you can say, I'm looking for a CPA, or I'm looking for a large prime. And so that's what Teaming Tuesday is for. So we're gonna do our first, or actually our second. We tested Teaming Tuesday previously to see how it would go. So now we're going to actually officially launch Teaming Tuesday on April 1st. So this is the link to it. I'm gonna actually put this link in the chat so that if you want to explore Teaming Tuesday. You can come and check out Teaming Tuesday. This is your chance to pitch. Now, we do prompt a few ways of how you pitch on Teaming Tuesday. And so there are some specific things that we say, okay, to pitch at this event, you need to, um, it's 3 minutes, right, to pitch yourself, and this is what you want to share. This is a suggestion of what you share. So you share your name, your company name, where you're located, what are you looking for, and then why should someone work with you? Why should the team with you, right? And then how should people remember you? Something memorable, something people remember you by. And you can say, I'm looking for a company that have past performance in cybersecurity, or a company that have past performance in janitorial services. Or you can say, I'm looking for a company that have a women's certification or 8A certification, or that have worked with this, agency. You can say, I'm looking for, I'm pursuing this IDIQ contract and I need a prime with expertise in this niche. You can say, I need a project manager with expertise in whatever. I need a subcontractor, and we have a possible sole source. I need an 8A partner, or you can say, I need a vendor to help me, find office furniture, or I need a vendor to help me source whatever. So these are just examples of what Teaming Tuesday is about. So Teaming Tuesday is how part of how you find teaming partners. I'm going to share with you another resource of how you find teaming partners or subcontractors. This is called Subnet. And so Subnet is a portal put up at the SBA. And you can come in here. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And there's many different ways of how you find teaming partners. And, because of time, today's class is not a class on how to find teaming partners. But I'm going to give you some very quick tips so that you do know how to find teaming partners. So Subnet, to get into Subnet, you have to go to connect.sba.gov. And most of you who are registered in SAM already have the instructions on how to get into connect.sba.gov. You must be registered in SAM before you can get set up into connect.sba.gov. So to post and to create a profile in Subnet, you need to go to connect.sba.gov. But to just search for teaming partner, you can just come to the subnet.sba.gov, and you can come in here. You can say, I need a teaming partner, or I want to be a subcontractor in California. And you can just click on the state. All right. All right. So why is it? Okay, here it is. It's just taking a minute to pull up. So there are different companies in here, right? So business name is American Roll On Roll Off Carrier. This is Crowder Construction. This is their NAICS code. Oops. This is their NAICS code. And this is the point of contact, right? Caroline Ripple, 919-367-2019. This is her email right here. So they tell you that this is what they're in. They're working on a project this company, they're working on a project that starts on May 5th, and they're looking for some subcontractors. So this is another tool that you can use, and you do have the point of contact, email, and so forth right here. So this is one way. Most of the time in Subnet, it's construction related, but it can permeate into like landscaping. So this project is landscaping and other stuff here.
So would you go to this same website if you are someone looking for a subcontractor, like to create a post on this? It would be the same website, or would it be a different one?
Yeah, you can do both on the Subnet. So you can be a prime and you can post, I'm looking for a subcontractor, or if you're a small business and you're looking for prime, you can come and post in here saying that you are looking for some subcontracting work in here as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
We have another question as well. And I'm going to add it to the screen. So it says, do you recommend using capability matrix to see which team member covers which portion of opportunity?
Are you talking about in your proposal submission? I guess that's what they're referring to. Um,
Um,
if it's is yeah, you can clarify your question, but if it is tied to your proposal, yes, I do recommend using, and in fact, I'll pull up an example here. So when you're writing your proposal and you're addressing, let's assume you have three companies. One is the prime, two are the sub, and you're saying that we're going to write the proposal. You do want to say this company will do section 1.4. This company will do section 1.6. This company will meet the requirement of the statement of work in section 1.9, or however you state it. I think I do have an example of a proposal that does illustrate that a little bit. So let me come in here. Let's see here. No proposals. Um, I think this one has it. So this is an example of a proposal, and so this is where multiple companies are coming together, right? And they actually spell out right here, right? So they say this company will do this part of the requirement. This company will do this part. This company is the prime. These are three subs. Each one will do different parts of the component. Now, in this situation, they're saying they're doing all of them are doing all of the different areas of the requirement itself. But you can actually say this company is doing only section 1.6, right? You can actually break it up that way. And this company is only doing section 1.5. And so this company will do both. And so you can break it up that way. But yes, I do recommend, this is clearer to the contracting officer and the review team when they're reviewing your proposal. Now they can say, okay, it makes sense why these four companies are working together, because they all bring different expertise to fulfill the requirements of this solicitation.
yeah, great question. And let us know if you have a follow-up question. And if anybody else has any questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them. So Abe, I have a question. So if you're you're looking at Teaming Tuesday and you're wanting to get involved in it, how would we do? Is this something that anybody can be a part of, or what does that look like getting involved in it?
Sure. Love the question. The one comment before I answer the question is there's two ways of how you can actually seek for teaming partners in the community. One is you come to Teaming Tuesday. The other is you can come in right here. It says request teaming partner. You can actually click on here, and down here you can actually post what type of teaming partners you're looking for here. So you can say, hey, I'm looking for a teaming partner, and you can put what you're looking for, and then we actually give you an example, right, of what to post so that everybody can kind of follow, keep it succinct and so forth. Like, for example, right, why team with us? We have past performance in whatever. Uh, we just launched a new technology. For example, we have an emerging technology for cybersecurity, and we just launched that. So that's compelling for someone to want to team with you. You can't just say, "Oh, we're good with cybersecurity." That's not strong enough.
Yeah.
You have to make it compelling. Well, we have CMMC level 2 certification. Very few people have level 2. Lots of people have level 1. Very few people have level 2. Well, we have a strong footprint with this agency. We have 10 contract with Homeland Security or with Customs and Border Patrol. That's very specific. It makes it compelling for somebody to want to team with you. So that's a second way of how you can seek out teaming partners. But to attend Teaming Tuesday, the best way is become a part of the GovCon community, right? The GovCon community is a community made up of industry professionals. So someone can, if you are a CPA, if you are a proposal writer, you can be part of the community, because we want to give you access to companies that might need your support. If you're a small business, we need to connect you to other small businesses that may have capabilities that might help you. And so that's really part of what this is. But there's beyond that, there's news. We aggregate news that's happening in the world of government contracting. So if you come in here, you don't have to go to 20, 30 different websites to search what's happening in the government market, right? So we're tracking all of these different items that's happening, right, in the government contracting marketplace. So you can come in here, quickly look at all this here, and so if you see something, then you can click on it, and there is a very short summary of what's going on, and then you can actually go to the specific article that addresses that itself. So that's the new summary. If you're looking for events, we aggregate a whole bunch of events that's happening in the gun market. Obviously, as the association, we have our own events. So we have our own events. You can come and look at all the events that we're hosting, but you can also look at all the events that's happening in the world of government contracting. So we want you to continue to educate yourself, equip yourself. So all these different events are happening. I'm talking about, we hundreds and hundreds of events that's getting curated and posted in here. So you can come in here and you can say, oh, you know what? There's this class for minority women business enterprise that's happening in Long Island. There is a procurement event that's happening in I'm not sure what this is, but if you want to know where it's at, just click on it. And then this is in California. So you can come and search, and some of these are in-person events, some of these are virtual events. So you can come and check out all these different events. But how do you have access to all of this here? Just go to govcon.community and then set up your profile. You do not necessarily even need to be a member to access some of the resources. Now, if you do want to access everything, then we do have a membership tier as well. And so we have different type of membership tiers. You can come in here, and right now we have a special because we just launched the community. It is brand new, and we're doing a 50% off membership. And Laney's going to put in the special link to in the chat here. So if you're interested in getting a 50% discount off of being a member, membership is $75 a month. And that gives you the silver plan. And so I would recommend everybody start off at the silver plan. But if you just want to get familiar with everything, it's $25 a month. So it's very affordable. We do have a $1 test for 7 days. So anyone can afford a buck to utilize all the benefits that's in the community. So we have a lot of different things that's going on in the community. You can come in here, and we have lots of free resources also. So if you just like, hey, let me check out some of the free resources. We have free resources in here. You can come in here, and we talk about researching 990s, unsolicited proposals, templates, capability statement samples in here as well. So, and we're adding every single day, adding new resources into the GovCon community. So that's what we want to encourage you, because this is your best teaming partner. Your teaming partner is your community that's behind you. In fact, any community that you're part of, in this community, you can get teaming partners. You can get proposal writer. You can get cost estimators. You can get whatever you need. If you need help with coaching your business so that you can succeed in the government market, all of these different resources available in the GovCon community. So with that, use the link, take advantage of the 50% discount right now that's happening in the community. Once that's gone, it's gone. So this is the time to get into the community at 50% discount, and that will be a lifetime discount. So as long as you stay active in the community, that membership will always be with you in terms of that special pricing there. So with that, any final questions or comments, Lainey, from anybody before we wrap up here?
No, nobody else has had any questions. I'm going to make sure to put our contact information in the chat. So if any questions comes up, you can always send us an email. Make sure to follow along. The replay link will be on YouTube. So if you want to come back here, if there was something Abe said that you want to come back to, and make sure to join us for next week. Abe, we have some really exciting things happening next week. Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. I love what we're going to talk about next week, because right now, in the current climate that we're in, There are a lot of challenges. I've had friends and companies and members of GCA that said, "Hey, I just got a stop work order." And Elon Musk, many of you, you think he's your friend, but I don't think he's a good friend to many government contractors right now. So he's like, I don't care if you own a Tesla or not. I'm cutting your government contract. So I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you own my stocks in Tesla or in all my companies. I'm cutting government contracts. So Doge and President Trump, there's some pros and cons to this here, right? We need to reduce our deficit as a country, which I fully support. But at the same time, a lot of companies are getting hurt by this here. So next week we're going
Yeah.
to talk about how to position your business to thrive in the midst of all these challenges. So we're going to talk about the federal employee changes to, federal employees, what that can mean for you as a government contractor. We're going to talk about if your business receives a stop work order, what should you do? If your contract is terminated for convenience, what should you do? So we're going to cover that next week. So join us next week, and we're going to cover that topic there, plus some other ideas, some other things that we have, and we're going to share with you some resources of where to go to get help, and how you can even be just as profitable and thrive in this current climate. Because we're going to talk about not just the problems, we're going to give you solutions as well. So join us next week. So with that, Lainey, any final thoughts?
I want to remind everybody that you are just one grant away from meeting all your goals. And Abe?
And as usual, you're one contract away from your next home, from your next employee, from your big car that you want, from the dream house that you want. One contract away.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And if you're watching on replay, thank you for doing that as well. We're really excited to see you next weekend. Hope you have a great week.
And please subscribe and like the channel. That's how you can give back to us. And so with that, stay tuned, and we'll see you another week, another episode. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.